Good afternoon. Don Pelayo here. I am today's Saturday, February 21st or 24th. I don't 22nd. I don't know. I don't know what day it is. I know it's Saturday, but I'm laying on my couch right now. My nice leather couch. This couch is so comfortable. You kind of just sink into it like a baseball sinks into a good beaten baseball glove, well beaten in baseball glove. This couch just holds me just like snug, I love it. And it's just a very, very comfortable couch. But anyway, um, I've been back, I got back Thursday night from Florida. We had a busy trip at Disney, 2 days of just walking all over the place. I had over 20,000 steps one day, and I was around 18,000 steps the second day. So my ankles hurting a little bit. I've got flat feet, and my ankles kind of turn in a little bit, and they kind of bother me sometimes. I was listening to another podcast earlier today, and something they said kind of struck me. What he was talking about was the importance of when you make podcasts, being really personal with people and telling them, letting them know who you are a little bit. And so I thought I might talk a little bit about some of my personal history. I don't like to get into it too much because I wouldn't want like some people seeing my videos that I know personally and getting offended by something, or, you know, I just look at it kind of matter of factly at this point. There's not really a lot of emotion behind it. I'm very much kind of a logical type person. And sometimes the emotional side of things, I've had emotions, before, and it's always tended to, and maybe that's what it is. It's like it's always whenever I had feelings or emotions about people or things that happened, I wound up getting hurt usually, and so I've kind of turned that. I don't even think it's something I've done intentionally. I think it's just kind of happened subconsciously. It's like my brain has taken over and says, okay, no more of that crap. It's like, no more of that. We're not doing that anymore. We're turning it off. Don't have feelings. So basically my brain has basically turned that part of me off. I think it's like I don't even have feelings anymore. It's like that part of me's just kind of died. But I like, but I do have some stories to share about things from my past. So I've been married twice. I've been divorced twice. I know there's a lot of communities on the internet these days devoted to relationships and the manosphere and red pill and all of that. It's not really my objective. That's not really where I wanted to take this channel, but I thought I'd take a video just to kind of talk about my perspective on what I learned in those experiences. I've had years to think about this. My last divorce was in 2014, so I made a decision that I wasn't going to get married again. I have no intention of getting married again. There's not really any point to it. I don't feel like there's much point to it anymore. I am glad that I had children. I have two daughters, and I'm very happy that I had children. I think having kids is a big part of our purpose in life, is to have children. So I think there would be a lot. I would feel a lot more empty if I had never had kids. But I live alone. I live completely by myself. I don't have a wife. I've had wives, two of them. I'm not the type person that I don't want to talk negatively about, I just want to talk about the lessons that I've learned from all of that. One, with both relationships, and I think this is something that a lot of people with my upbringing, I grew up Mormon. I grew up in the Mormon church. I served a church mission in Spain and all of that. Um, I I got married about a year and a half after I came home from my mission to a girl that I had known for about, I think at the time we got married, I think I'd known her for maybe about 9 months. I didn't know her. I didn't know her at all. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of Mormons make. In particular, I think people outside the church do take a little bit more time. But both of my marriages happened pretty fast, and I didn't. I didn't know her. She didn't know me, and something else that and this is something that I have thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And I don't know if this is a Mormon girl thing or if this is an all girl thing. But one of the things that I've noticed is that I don't think I don't think I have ever, and I've been married twice. I don't think that I've ever genuinely had a girl that was in love with me. I don't think that I've ever experienced that. Even to this day, I don't think I've ever experienced that, and I'm not really expecting to experience that at this point. I don't, the girls in the church, they wanted to get married. They wanted to marry a returned missionary. But as to who he was, like, it was like, whatever guy asks me, basically, it's like don't they develop like feelings for a particular person? It's like the way guys do. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question because I haven't seen that out of the girls at church. It seems like they just wanted to get married. It was like that was it. It was like they just wanted to be able to check that box off on their bingo card and call it a day, And it's like us guys, we want to feel like we're really wanted, you know, by the other person. It's like the feelings need to be going both ways. It's not that a guy just falls in love with a girl and she's like, okay, well, he asked me, so I'm going to marry him. That's what it felt like to me. That's what it genuinely felt like to me. Um, and it just always felt very empty. It just felt very empty. I never felt like there were really any feelings from the other side at all. So, personally, and at this point in my life, I would rather just be by myself than be with somebody that I don't really feel like cares that much. Um, I hate saying it like that, but that's what I think. Um, my first marriage lasted almost 8 years. We had problems nearly the entire time. It was kind of amazing. A lot of marriages would have ended way before ours did, considering the kind of problems that we were having in our marriage. I don't want to get too deep into it, but there were a lot of issues that unusual problems that not typical problems that most marriages have. Um, you know, we growing up Mormon, you know, you were taught to wait for marriage before having any kind of sexual relations with anybody. Well, so and I was a good Mormon boy. I waited until we were married, and there were some intimacy problems in our marriage. I say to people, I was a virgin when I got married, and I was a virgin 4.5 years after I got married. So, um, yeah, there were some real significant issues there. The first year of that, I was so patient and tried to be really good and sweet about it, and nice to her, and you know what the truth is? I think she would have been happy just being married and never having had that part of our relationship emerge. I think she would have been okay with that. Um, I that was a difficult thing for a guy. I remember there was initially I thought maybe she was just shy, kind of inhibited. This is something pretty new. Um, then then you start wondering maybe something happened to her. Maybe there was some abuse in her past, and I asked her about that. She always denied that anything had happened that way. Okay, so then what's the deal? What's the deal? Um, I don't know. I uh, I got about 3.5 years into the marriage, and one day I just felt like I needed to talk to somebody, and I was over at my parents' house, and I just happened to mention it to my mom. I told her, this has been a problem in our marriage this whole time, and this was the first time I ever talked to anybody outside, about it, was when I talked to my mom, and 3.5 years after we gotten married. My mom did not react the way that I expected her to. Um, I was really kind of seeking her advice and counsel and that sort of thing from her. My mom kind of blew up, she was angry. And she told me I needed to go to the church and talk to someone there about it. And so I went and talked to one of the senior leadership there at the Mormon church. If you know anything about the Mormon church, I I went to talk to my former bishop, who is now stake president. So I was talking to the stake president, former bishop. I knew him pretty well. So I went and talked to him, and he was an attorney by trade. That's what his career is. If you know anything about the Mormon church, that we don't have any professional clergy. They're all volunteers that fill the church leadership, and they have regular jobs. He was a lawyer, and his advice to me that day was that he felt like I qualified for an annulment of the marriage. He didn't even think I needed to get divorced. He thought that based on that I would qualify for an annulment. Well, I thought about it. I wasn't expecting, to be honest with you. You don't expect to hear that from a Mormon leader. um, in the Mormon church, families are a big deal, and they talk a lot about, families are together forever, and how important it is for, divorce was really frowned upon, that sort of thing. So I went home and I thought about it, and what I decided to do is and I had talked to my wife about this before, but I decided to talk to her about going and getting some counseling. I had talked to her about that before. She never wanted to do it. Well, this time I went and said, look, we need to get counseling because this isn't working. This isn't normal. This is a problem. We have a problem, and I think we need to get a professional involved in it. And basically I made it an ultimatum, more or less, that we're going to go to counseling or this whole thing is over. That was basically my position. And so she agreed to go to counseling finally, and we went and saw a doctor, like a family counselor type person. And I went the first visit. After that, she was working one-on-one with my first wife for about 6 to 8 months. It was a little while. And after about 8 months, we were able to consummate the marriage. And wasn't long after that she became pregnant with my oldest daughter, Ashley. Once the day that she found out that she was pregnant, she quits her job, which, I wouldn't have been opposed to her making a decision that she wanted to be at home. But at the time, we were both contributing about 50% to the household budget. And she just ups and quits her job, doesn't tell me anything, doesn't talk to me about it, nothing. And now, whereas prior to this we were cash flow positive a good bit, but now 50% of our income's gone. We're cash flow negative. And she gave me no time to try to find a solution to that. And I probably panicked a little bit. I probably did. Um, it's like when you're looking at it, it's like, we're almost $1,000 a month underwater now, and that's, we should have had more money in savings. And I kind of kicked myself for that. The reason we didn't is we took a lot of trips, a lot of vacations, and I think the reason we did that, at least the reason I planned that, was because we weren't really that happy, and it's like we were trying to put some happiness into our life by taking these vacation trips. We went to Spain, we went to the Bahamas, we went to Baltimore and watched a baseball game there. We went to where else did we go? We went to several different places, but anyway, we had spent some money doing all that. Just trying to buy happiness, you know what I mean? That was a mistake. That doesn't work very well. Anyway, so at the time, if I had really gotten out there, and I probably could have found a part-time job, and just to help us get through it, until I could find a better full-time job. But I panicked. We wound up selling the house. We owned a home at the time. We sold our house and we moved in with her mom. We moved back in with her parents because it was just, I'm looking at the budget. It's like this financial situation doesn't work. And that was a mistake. I think I should have just gotten out there and tried to find a part-time job as quickly as I could. And I probably didn't need to do that. I think I just panicked. But anyway, as she was home during her pregnancy, she got to talking to people on the internet and learning about Wicca. At the time, I had no idea what Wicca was. I had never heard of Wicca. Wicca was a completely foreign thing to me. I didn't know anything about it. I'd never even heard of it. She started dabbling into Wicca a little bit. At first, I just thought it was kind of a phase, My first wife was always a little bit quirky that way. I think she just had some, I don't know. She's just kind of into these oddities kind of things. But she got progressively more and more into it. It started getting weird for me. I grew up, when you grow up Mormon, you grow up in a pretty conservative, Christian, upbringing. I mean, the Mormons are very conservative. It's very conservative faith. Mormons are Christians, by the way. There's people that will say, no, they're not. Yes, they are. Mormons are very much Christian. They don't see things exactly the same way that Protestants do, but Mormons are Christians. They hold Jesus Christ as the Son of God, our Savior and Redeemer, just the same way Protestants do. There are some other differences, though. Anyway, so as she started getting more and more into this Wiccan stuff, everything just, I think what it wasn't just one thing. It was just, there were just all these things that just over and over and over again, in our marriage. And it was just, I think I just realized that it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working. I think there was also an absence of closeness between us. I don't think the closeness ever really existed between us. You know, when I say intimacy, but intimacy isn't always sex. It's like there's a closeness, a bond that that should exist between a husband and wife, and it just wasn't there. I don't think that ever existed with us. So ultimately, and I hated it because now there was a child involved. My oldest daughter was born September of 2004, and so at this point she's about a year and a half old, and I'm realizing I can't stay in this marriage anymore. I just got a stain on my shirt right there. Just noticed it. Anyway, I just realized I couldn't stay in this marriage anymore. I didn't leave immediately. I did give it time. I think this was like in January, February of 2006 when I realized this. I started going to the gym a lot, and I kind of did it as an outlet just to kind of alleviate some of the stress, some of the burden that I was feeling. And then ultimately, in December of that year, I moved out. Wasn't easy. That was never easy. I was a pretty sensitive guy back in those days. When I was a teenager, early 20s, and even up to about age 30, I was pretty sensitive guy. I didn't like hurting people. I knew it was going to hurt her, and I hated that, and I didn't like my daughter growing up with parents that are divorced. All of that I hated. But to be honest, I just didn't feel like I had a choice, really. I didn't feel like there was going to be any way that I could have stayed with her for the rest of my life. It just wasn't, not the way things were going. There were other things too. I haven't told everything. I don't want to get into all of it, but anyway. So we in North Carolina at the time, you had to be separated for a year before you could file for divorce. So we separated in December of 2006, and our divorce was official in spring of 2008, I think. And she got remarried in 2008, I believe, that year. Like right after our divorce was finalized, she got remarried. I wasn't thinking about marriage again at all. I think for me, the marriage thing felt like it was over with. I had other reasons why I felt that way. I still had feelings for someone in my past, which was probably also part of the reason why the marriage didn't make it. I think it's also part of the reason why there was never a bond or closeness between myself and my first wife. I think that my feelings for someone else kind of prevented that from happening. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, so I was planning on staying single the rest of my life at that point. This is back in 2006. When we separated. I was single for a little over 4 years, and I began chatting with there's a dating app specifically for Mormon singles, And I began chatting on that website with different girls around the country, and I met a few of them. Um, yeah, I think there were some issues there with me too, but I just don't think that closeness factor was a problem. Anyway, um, I met a girl down in Florida that down in Jacksonville on the website, and we started chatting, and we were chatting for like 6 months. We've been talking on and off for about 6 months. Nothing had happened. I lived in North Carolina. She lived in Florida. I hadn't been to Florida. She hadn't been to North Carolina. So for 6 months, we just did nothing but talk on the internet. Talk online. Spring of 2011? Yeah, 2011. This is like March of 2011. My oldest daughter had spring break, and I took her down. We decided to do a Disney trip. I brought her down to Orlando, and we did a few days at Disney, and then we, on the way back to North Carolina, decided to stop and meet this girl. Initially, my whole plan was to do nothing but just stop and say hey. Really, that was basically my plan. That was my whole plan at the time. She had two kids that were about Ashley's age, a little bit older than Ashley, but pretty close. One of which was a girl that was just 7 months older than Ashley, and so they were loving it. And the kids decided they wanted to have a sleepover. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. This was not in the plan. So wound up, the kids had a sleepover, and we wound up having a sleepover. So that was not an ideal situation at all. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from the girl. She just found out she was pregnant. Oh no. Right? This is not ideal at all. It was a mistake, but it happened. I did not know what to do because I have a daughter here in North Carolina. How am I supposed to leave her and go down to Florida? And but she had a house down there in Florida. She had a good job in Florida. She wasn't going to move. So I wound up moving to Florida, which was I hated it. I think I was crying almost the entire drive down to Florida because I had to leave my oldest daughter, and I would see her every few months, but it wasn't anything like the way it had been before. That was hard. That was really, really difficult, but it's because I made a bad choice. Your choices can instantly change your whole life. And so anyway, at this point, I guess I should say, I didn't really talk about this part, but after my first wife and I divorced, church became very uncomfortable. I could sense the people looking at me, and maybe it was all in my head. I don't know. No, I did see some of it. The darting eyes, people whispering, saying things. You hear a little bit of it. So I knew that there were things going around. So I stopped going to church because I didn't feel comfortable there anymore. I did go a little bit in Florida once I moved down there, but I haven't really been active in the Mormon Church for more than a decade, easily more than a decade, probably more than 15 years. It's probably yeah, easily, yeah, I'd say 15 years or more. It's been 15 years. It's like a lot of Mormons, they talk about going to the temple. The last time I was in the temple was my second wedding anniversary with my first wife. That was That would have been March of 2001. So it's been 24 years since I've been to the temple. So, anyway, I just didn't feel comfortable there anymore. It's not just that. There were other things too, but that was the initial reason. I think since I've been gone and looking back and kind of analyzing things, my experience there's a lot of good things about the Mormon Church. I do like their principles, their morals. Generally, it's very traditional. I'm kind of a traditional type person, generally speaking. Um, I do feel like there's some things that should change a little bit. Not huge things. Um, One of the things I didn't like about the Mormon Church is that everybody, it's just cookie cutter. It's like everybody is to follow the same path, step by step by step. Your whole life is planned for you, basically, and it's just very cookie cutter, and you do this and you do this and then you do this and then you do this and you do this, and that's the way the Mormon Church is. So it's like they have your whole life planned out for you. It's like, well, what do I even need a brain for? And it's like, you got it all planned out, marked out for me. Well, anyway, I don't think that's ideal. I also think they push people getting married early, and it's like really before you're really ready to have kids. You're not financially capable of supporting a family for the most part at that age. It's like most of the Mormons, when they get married, they don't have college degrees. They don't have anything. And they're getting married and bringing kids into the world, and they can barely afford to feed them, provide for themselves, much less kids. You can't tell them that, though. They're going to say, "Where's your faith?" and yada yada yada. Anyway, so I'm sorry. Sometimes you just got to use a little bit of common sense. I'm kind of a logical person. Anyway, I have a little brace around my ankle, and it's starting to irritate me a little bit. I just had to get that off. Anyway, my second marriage only lasted 3 years. Honestly, I feel like it was a miracle it lasted that long. We get along pretty well these days. We didn't get along very well being married. I'm sure that she has ways that she sees it and didn't like things about me, and I have never been the type person to want to argue and have arguments and fights and all that stuff. She seemed, I don't know, it seemed like she just thrived on that. Like she enjoyed that part of the relationship. And no guy wants to be at home, to come home to that. They don't. No guy wants to be in the middle of that. They just have no desire for that. They want to be able to come home to a peaceful environment, to a happy home. It's like these women sometimes, I don't know. There was just it's like walking in the door. It was like walking into a minefield. It was like, I don't know what I'm walking into. It's like, you don't know, one misstep and you're kaboom, So, That was kind of the way. That was kind of the way that relationship felt to me. Um, Again, I didn't know her very long. We had been talking for 6 months when we met. We, you know, we met in like March of 2011, and then we got married in July of 2011. So we had probably been talking for we probably met around September of 2010, and then married in July. So about 10 months, something like that. Anyway, um, that was my experience with relationships. Now I'm 48 years old. I have a house. I'm the only one living here. It's about, I don't know, 1,600 square feet. Perfect for me. There's actually plenty of room for more people, but I don't know. I don't have any desire to get married again. That part of my I don't know if it's a self-defense mechanism or what, but that part of me has like just completely turned off. It's like I'll sometimes, look and see an attractive girl, and it's like I see an attractive girl and I think, "Oh, she's cute." And then the next thought is, what kind of hell is she going to put me through? And that's really what it is. That's the way it feels. That's pretty much it. And there's so much risk financially to get married again and all of that. I'm like, no, no, I'm not doing that again. Um, I just have no desire to anymore. It's over. I already feel like my two marriages set me back 15 years with like retirement savings and all of that. So no, no, I'm not getting married again. I just have no interest in doing that again. Um anyway, this video has gotten kind of long. I I would say to any young men that are out there, be very careful, and young ladies too. Young women, I have two daughters. So what I would say to young girls is just really respect yourself. Don't let you know guys are pretty short-sighted a lot of times. I think we are, um, just by nature a little bit, and we're kind of so we can easily be distracted by our passions, by our and girls really have to. I know it might be unfair, but girls are the ones that have to kind of have a little bit more control because guys are just we're wired that way. That's our biology. Um, but anyway, um, young men just need to focus on improving themselves, self improvement, building, getting knowledge. One of the things I wish the church did more of when I was younger, I wish they focused on careers. Talk to us about what we would do with our lives in terms of careers. Talking to us about different career options out there, jobs that would allow us to be able to earn a good enough living to provide for a family well, and all of that. And I've done okay. I feel pretty comfortable where I am financially, but you know, I feel like if I had really focused on that a little bit more when I was younger, because when I was a teenager, I wasn't thinking about a career. That was the last thing on my mind back then. That was the last thing. I When I got to college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and it took me a little while to kind of weed through and figure out what I wanted to do. Um, I found investments interesting, and that was kind of where I directed my energies, and became a financial advisor and got licensed that way and all of that. But um, anyway, I'm gonna get off here. I've been talking for 40 minutes now. I know this has gotten a little bit personal. I just wanted to get some of my thoughts out there. I may talk about picking this up again on another video, but this video was in no way an attempt to slam anybody from my past. We're all learning, we're all growing, we're all learning it. Relationships never really came easy for me. It was always a very uncomfortable, I'm a little bit introverted. I haven't always been introverted. I wasn't an introvert in elementary school, but started becoming more introverted in middle school. Um, but so I think relationships just in general were always just a hard thing for me. Anyway, I'm very comfortable now. I'm gonna let you guys go. This is Dom Palayo signing off.